All right, good morning. This is me, Kelly Diamond. This early morning. Okay, so you're getting the freshly rolled out of bed, Kelly Diamond, because I completely spaced. So the short week and having Monday off apparently threw off my clock. So apologies for the very homely Kelly Diamond this morning on Voluntary Virtues. The conversation today is going to be about cops and their special rights. All right, they got their special rights because they have their special pajamas and that nifty piece of flair. So you can catch me every week, Thursday morning at 6:30 on Voluntary Virtues, and every week, Monday morning, globalwealthprotection.com. That's where I roll out my blog. So thanks for tuning in. So special rights for cops. I have a real hard time with these stories that constantly roll out videos and recordings, audio recordings, and news broadcasts when they cover it, if they cover it, right, of how people's rights are perpetually being trampled and violated under the cloak of safety, under the cloak of not just anyone's safety, the cops' safety in particular. Understanding full well that the cop is perpetrating a tremendous amount of violence and riding roughshod on people's civil liberties, and even if you want to take the statist route, their constitutional rights. And their justification is safety, but it's not your safety, it's their safety. So they start a fight, then they become belligerent, and they feel justified in becoming belligerent because their safety is on the line. And to me, that's telling, right? That unto itself is telling that while this person is purportedly a public servant, their main priority is their own safety, and their own safety is what allows them to behave the way they do, dragging their knuckles about society and bludgeoning people for no apparent reason other than they feel unsafe in your presence. If they're apparently if they scream, don't resist, stop resisting, then anything they do during that time is completely and 100% acceptable. And so people who run organizations such as Cop Block and Cop Watch, and Policing the Police, just to name a few, or even the ACLU for that matter, they have taken up somewhat of a helm on this. The biggest question is, do cops have special rights? And I thought about that for a while. Which one is it? How does this play out, even from a statist perspective? Okay, I'm not arguing for the state. I'm arguing for liberty. Liberty first, at any cost, right? And so, can I carve out a way within a statist society even to protect the liberties of individuals? Can I do that? And yes, you can, actually. It's a very interesting and somewhat circuitous route, but it's no different than anything. If I lay this out for you, you'll find that it's not much different than anyone else operating under the employer of any business. Okay. And all of this is predicated on laws that already exist, whether we like them or not. But if you're going to have these laws and you want to abide by the rule of law, then let's play by their game, right? So what came to mind first when I was pondering all of this was that cops don't have special rights. Cops are operating under their professional capacity. So it's not that their rights are special, it's that their circumstances are special. Not special in a nice way, like a surprise or a party. Special like touched. Okay? So, but nonetheless, they are somewhat extenuating. And the first thing that came to mind was the McDonald's case. Now, if you remember, the big deal was that McDonald's didn't put a warning on their coffee that it was extremely hot. The hot coffee you ordered is hot. There was no warning label. But apparently, if you scrape above the surface of that, and yeah, we can laugh about it. Somebody needed a warning label to know that what their hot beverage was hot. And come on, they got third-degree burns from coffee that they were careless with or whatever. The reality is that McDonald's at one point was keeping their coffee hotter than everyone else by tens of degrees. Okay? I think they were keeping it somewhere in the neighborhood of over 190 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it was considerably hotter than even what Starbucks was keeping it at. So it was hot. Okay. And that was their standard. Now, this lady orders coffee. The person serving at the takeout window serves her coffee at 190 degrees. That's their job. That's what they're told to do. That's their policy. So I don't ascribe any malice to the person who served her up the 190-degree coffee. I mean, even though that person might very well feel really bad that woman ended up getting burned the way she did. And she did. There were some pretty egregious scars and burns, bless her heart. And, but anyway, while they may feel bad, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They put the coffee in a cup. They kept the coffee at 190 degrees. They served her the cup, and it spilled. And as it turns out, McDonald's was in the wrong. But the employee was never held accountable for serving her scalding hot coffee at 190 degrees. Okay? And so obviously, we're not charging the poor, McDonald's employee for doing exactly what he was supposed to do at the time of service, right? So we say, okay, so they didn't even sue the employee for serving the coffee. They went straight to McDonald's. Right? And of course, the employee was never found culpable of any wrongdoing because they were doing what their job asked them to do. So now, let's take this over to the corporation that is the city or county, and understand they are corporations. They are registered corporations. They are, and especially if they are incorporated territories, they are very much a corporation. Okay. There are if you look into it, there is actually incorporated and non-incorporated territories within the United States, and certain territories are given. For instance, I used to live in Austin, but I didn't actually live in Austin proper. It was not an incorporated territory of Austin. I was just given that. But the actual territory that I lived in was not incorporated. There's a town in Nebraska called Max, Nebraska. It's an unincorporated area as well. It doesn't have a police force. The state police, I guess, run through there every now and again, but there is no actual local police. Okay, so that's important. So there are incorporated areas. Those incorporated areas have a local police department. That local police department is part of a corporation. And this is not about whether you like corporate personhood. This is just the facts. This is just data. We haven't gotten to my opinion yet. Okay? All right, so a cop decides to get all uppity on a crowd of people, or one individual, doesn't really matter. And and someone dies in the process, or someone gets brutally beaten. Okay. What is our recourse? Do we file a complaint with the police department? No, you don't. No, you don't. The police department is exactly that. It's a department, just like human resources department, just like the accounting department of any corporation. When somebody acts a fool in any of those departments, you don't tell the head of that department. not if they've committed an egregious crime against humanity, okay? We go to the corporation itself. The police department of Riverside, of Fullerton, of Ferguson. Okay, so the name of the corporation is not Precinct 13, and the name of the corporation is not, the Riverside Police Department or Fullerton Police Department. The corporation is Fullerton, it's Ferguson, it's Riverside, the actual incorporated territory, the government of that area. All right. So imagine that the police officer is no different than the person serving up coffee at McDonald's, other than the fact that the person at McDonald's actually has an honest living. Okay? Putting that aside for a second. And that person acts out of line. So now this person has harmed somebody, violated somebody's rights. We want justice. Okay. Now, let's say that person was me. All right. So I go and I try to sue the individual. Now, I'm doing this on purpose, knowing full well that he's not going to be found culpable. Okay. And I'm doing this on purpose for this reason. I'm going to lay out a case. This is what happened. And the court says, well, he was operating under the capacity of his job. I can't find him to blame. It's not his fault. He has proven that these are the protocols that are necessary. These are the protocols that he followed. Per the video, that's exactly what he did. I can't blame him for operating within his professional capacity. So he is off the hook by virtue of the fact he was operating as his protocols demanded. And that's all I can do. We're charging him. He is innocent because he was operating within the capacity of his job. Okay. You've made that opinion, you've made that ruling. I'm now going to take that opinion and that ruling. Thank you, Your Honor, for telling me whose fault it is, and for ruling on that, and officiating that, and codifying that in your opinion. I'm now going to take that, and I'm going to go after the city of Riverside, or the city of wherever that cop is from. And I'm going to say, per this ruling, this man did this to me. See video. And these are the protocols he was following in the process. Now the question is, are these protocols legal? Review the actual protocols and tell me, are these constitutional? Are they legal? Do they fall within the realm of what is right and wrong? And this is what our laws stand for. This is the type of safety that we're perpetrating on society, because this is the result. This picture, this video, these medical results, whatever it is, this is the result of these protocols. Do you think that they are generating proper results? Do you feel that they are actually in accordance with maintaining civility, with maintaining and preserving my rights? Because my rights were violated. I'm an innocent person who got bludgeoned. Okay? So somewhere in there, there's an injustice. An innocent person getting their ass beaten with no repercussions and with no recourse is an injustice. So somewhere in there, injustice was generated out of the system. Do you believe that these protocols are legal, are correct? Are these because the protocols are not law. They weren't passed by legislation. They weren't passed by a vote. They were just fabricated out of nothing. Okay? They come out of nowhere. Protocols that cops follow are not laws. They're not laws. They're codes of conduct. It's like a dress code at work. That's not the law. It's not the law that I don't wear jeans on Monday. It's not illegal for me to wear jeans to my office. It's against company policy that I wear jeans to my office on Mondays. Okay? A completely different story. Now, when a company's policies are illegal, companies are told to correct it. Okay? Now, the courts are forgiving and they say, okay, you may not have known, or perhaps there was no opinion on the matter, so now I'm interpreting the law and I'm saying you have to change your policies. For example, McDonald's changed its policy to have not as hot coffee. It doesn't have 190-degree coffee anymore. I think they dropped it to like 170, something like that. Okay. So, and that's not to say that it's illegal to have 190-degree coffee, but it's dangerous. It was ruled dangerous, and it's going to keep leading to lawsuits. So, obviously McDonald's is going to change that. So that in their end, it wasn't illegal to have hot coffee. It's that it was just too much of a liability. In the case of the police officer, is it legal? Are these protocols generating legal results? And so we position it that way. Now, you can take it as high as you wish, but it only takes once. Are these a court could look at that and say, okay, so now we're looking at the protocols. The protocols themselves that resulted in this, I don't think so. I don't think this jives with civil conduct, with proper, with our laws. And of course, if you had a good lawyer, or if you knew your law well enough, you'd be able to point out the violations and say this actual protocol violates these rights and violates these laws, is in direct conflict with this. You'd have to make that argument, and the argument exists. I mean, it's plain as day that the argument exists. I don't know the exact laws, but there's no way that this is legal behavior, because the reason why it's not legal behavior is because it's not legal for me to do it. That's how I know it's not legal. I know for a fact I cannot go and pull somebody over and beat the piss out of them because they didn't wear a seatbelt. And they talked sassy to me. Okay? Somebody giving me a little sass is not me. Somebody telling me to get out of their house. Somebody telling me, am I being detained? None of that passes as a legitimate reason for me to beat down on anybody. So if that's the case, then I know it's illegal. There's illegality in there. And that's where you challenge that's where you challenge whether or not police officers in general have special rights. Do they have special rights? Am I allowed to do this as a private citizen? No, you are not. Then do they have special rights? Yes or no? The circumstances the circumstances are the same circumstances that I face. If I feel that I'm in danger, I should be able to defend myself, which means that if a man approaching me with a gun is yelling at me and telling me to do something I don't want to do, and there is no probable cause for me to do it, I have every right to do what? What is my legal response? And this is the argument. This is the debate. This is the discussion. This is the case that it is going to be predicated on. A court is forced to face that. So then the court says A or B. Choose your own adventure, right? The court says this is perfectly legal. Then the court will have ruled that cops have special rights. And you'll have your answer. You'll have your answer. It won't be a good one. It won't solve anything, per se. But there's your answer. A court will have ruled that cops have special rights. Alternatively, the court says, I don't think so. I think these protocols need to be adjusted because whatever good intentions they have, their end result is injustice. I'm ordering you now to pay out to this individual here and to restructure your protocol to my liking, to where they are within the law. And we'll revisit. There. 6 months down the line, this corporation has been ordered to restructure its protocols so that it is more in line with the law and more in line with generating justice. Blah blah blah. My attorney looks at it and says, yeah, that's on paper, this is right. Okay, sounds good. 6 months later, somebody else gets beaten down by a different cop. Same corporation, and they go the same route. They try to sue the cop. And they find out that the cop operated outside the protocols, but was still operating in the capacity of a cop. Still can't hold the cop accountable. The court rules that he was operating outside of the protocols. Right? And you say, thank you. I'll take that ruling. I will now go to this court and say, can you sort this out? As it turns out, my case, my new case, different person, right, was brought before the court. The court says he was not operating in the capacity of, within the boundaries of the protocols, and so you are now liable for his actions because he was operating as your surrogate, as your ambassador, as your representative, as under your employ, as a cop. I can't sue him individually. He's not covered by, it's not about constitutional rights. He's not covered by them. In this case, he's covered by you. So, you need to pay out because he's a liability. Okay? And then you can do whatever it is you need to do with this cop. But you need to pay out as the company. You are liable for his actions while he's operating as a cop, whatever he does. So yes, the cop, the individual cop, cannot be sued or held accountable directly, but the corporation he works for can. Now, let's say the city pays me out the damages, right? Because I have this rogue cop. Now, as the city, I can say, I'll pay you up. Here you go. And you can do, and they can do whatever they want now. At this point, they can say, okay, I'm going to keep this guy on, right? I'll give him a 2-week vacation, paid vacation. I'm going to pay out his family. He's going to get back on the force, whatever. I can do that. But how long do you suppose, which I would like to see now, actually. I would like to see it now, despite the fact that this route has not been taken. I would like to see it now. Suppose somebody were to publish how much the government pays in damages. That city, that corporation pays in damages alone. Destroying people's property is not acceptable. It's never okay. Short of there being an actual distress call inside, there's no reason to be breaking down people's doors. But I do agree that yes, if I hear somebody screaming for help, a reasonable person would say, and a reasonable person would want to be helped. And so whatever it takes to help that person, you would do, including and not limited to breaking a window, breaking down the door to get to the person who's in distress. Okay, that I can agree with. I don't care about the law about it. I think that's a reasonable assumption. Okay, we operate within what would a reasonable person want. A reasonable person screaming for help would want help. So to that end, yeah, would I be liable for breaking their window to help them? No, probably not. There would be some mitigating circumstances in that, right? Laying hands on somebody when they're in distress, pulling them out of a vehicle when they're unconscious. The idea that a reasonable person would want help. Of course they would. I would otherwise never lay hands on you, but you're stuck, you're pinned under this, and this car is leaking gasoline. It looks like it's going to blow up. I pull you out. Yeah, under those circumstances, I am not assaulting you. I'm helping you. Right? So there is that. Breaking down your door because you got a plant? No. That's reckless. That's violent. That's destructive. That's vandalizing property. It's illegal. Period. Law or no law, it's wrong. There's nobody in distress inside the house. Not because there's a plant. I'll tell you what, that plant is not causing distress. Okay? There's no way. So that's that. But this is how it would go. Is the cop operating in or outside the parameters of the protocols? Yes or no? No. Okay. Well, now the city's pays out. How often do you suppose the city's going to be able to afford it? And how much do you think the taxpayers, regardless of how pro cop they are you willing to pick up the tab every time they fuck up? I'm just wondering, how many broken doors and door frames, how many broken windows, how many destroyed carpets with tear gas and flashbang, bombs and whatnot? How much shit are you willing to pay to replace the city of whatever? I don't care what city you're in. How much shit are you willing to replace? Because you have these Neanderthals running about destroying shit in the name of security. When there's no distress inside the house, nobody's screaming for help, there is no breaking of people's homes. That's just the destruction of property outright. I don't care what a person says, there is no assaulting them and pinning them to the ground and arresting them for resisting. They're not resisting anything. They're not resisting arrest, that's for sure, because in order to resist arrest, you got to be arrested for something. And if the only violation they have is insulting you, that's not enough. So no, you don't get to assault people. So how many times do you think how much money do you think a city wants to pay just to cover the asses of cops who are reckless? When positioned in front of people and you show them a graph and say, look, this is how much we're spending on education. This is how much we're spending on roads. This is how much we're spending on parks and libraries. This is how much we're spending, watch it go through the roof, just fixing the shit that cops break. Just paying out to citizens whose rights were ruled to be violated. This is your budget. By the way, every time they fuck up, they're sent out on the street to go earn it back. From you. From you. How are they going to get it? They're either going to raise your taxes, or they're just going to come directly after you next. You'll pay for it. You'll pay for it with your broken tail light. You'll pay for it when you made a left turn as a motorcycle at 2 in the morning and the red light arrow would not turn and recognize the weight of your vehicle. So you had to sit there and wait for fucking 15 minutes for the light to turn. It never did. It's 2 in the morning. It's clear as fuck. You take your left turn and a cop is sitting right there waiting to write you a ticket for making an illegal left turn. You're paying. You got stuck in gridlock. You're in the middle of the intersection. You can neither proceed forward nor move backwards. You're stuck. And the cop decides, you know what, that's close enough to running a red light. Even though it's not. You're going to pay the ticket. Cops are going to say, oh, there were workers present. You're not going to review the ticket, and you're going to pay it, realizing later, holy shit, he said workers were present. There's no workers present. Well, that's an extra $250 per worker. He said there were 2. Now you're paying $500 for no workers that were present when you were making the illegal lane change and going 45 in a 40 zone. That's how they pay for it. You're paying. You want to wonder why the cop is pulling you over for not having your stickers in the right spot? He needs the money. He just fucked up. His brethren went out and decided to break down a door and they have to pay for it. And how are they going to pay for it? Because you have a broken taillight. That's how they're paying. At some point, I don't care how pro-cop you are, and I don't care how romantic you think the fucking job is, and I don't care how you work it out in your head that says that cops fight for our safety and cops are, and cops are these good people and they deal with the scourge of the earth. No, they don't. They are the scourge of the earth. We deal with the scourge of the earth. The private citizens deal with the scourge of the earth, and those are cops. They're not dealing with some fucked up element of people. They don't catch murderers in the act. They don't catch rapists in the act. They take a report. They take a report. The most violent people out there are the people who are defending themselves against assholes who think that they have a right to throw down and drag them off into a cage for no other reason than engaging in fucking commerce. But I think that but cops do have special rights. They're protected by their corporation. Okay? Just like the employee at McDonald's. They're protected by their corporation. So sue the corporation and hold the corporation accountable and see what happens. Will that always work? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. I don't know. But you're never going to sue the cops successfully. So perhaps they do have special rights while they're operating under that, in that context. And perhaps it's time that people started understanding that these are non-accountable individuals. And if they're not accountable, there's problems. There is no such thing as a vigilante justice system. There's only justice or there isn't. And in the case of cops, I don't think there is much to be had in terms of justice, unfortunately. But I would like to see it play out. I would like to see what would happen if people approached it as a corporation as opposed to just, going after an individual who's operating in the capacity of a government agent and therefore is not covered by the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't protect the rights of government. It protects the rights of individuals. And if you're going to operate in the capacity of government, then you're not covered by the Constitution, that's for sure. You're covered by the corporation. I'd love to see a lawyer take up that helm. I don't know if anyone has the guts to, but I'd love to see it. All right, have a good week. We'll catch you next time.